Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Small Astrology, where we look at birth charts for how to raise children, and we can see how there are hints and tips in there on ways that they might best understand our parenting. Gives us a little bit of insight into some people that might not be great at communicating their needs just yet. So today we are looking at the small Leo sun. Now, a Leo sun is a fixed fire sign. This is the energy of I create, and it makes them, being ruled by the sun, very expectant to be the star and to be the center of attention at all times. They really do not have anything to offer anyone who does not offer them adoration. And they really do need endless attentiveness when they are quite small. Now, they look very confident, they are very inquisitive, and even when they are crying, it's almost as if they are crying more indignantly and demandingly than helplessness. Now, we have to remember that even though they do present this confidence, they are quite sensitive and very proud. And often it comes with a slight touch of vanity. You cannot be ruled by the sun and not have a little touch of vanity. Now, they do seem tough on the outside, but they are quite vulnerable. So you need to be careful of the words that you use because one harsh word can really knock their confidence. And, especially when it comes to discipline, you need to be very careful with the wording that you are using. Now, a small Leo can be very fidgety, and particularly when they're quite young. They do display a lot of power and determination, even from infant age, which can be very testing. And, these children are not often afraid of strangers. They really want to establish contact with anyone who shows them any generosity or attention because they are innate leaders. They are always stepping ahead, in conversations, in tasks, they're always quite ahead. So this does make them get a bit bored very easily. And there are some downsides to that. And one of those is, they can manipulate their friends to do things for their entertainment, things that they don't want to get their hands dirty with. So watch out for that one because other children will easily succumb to this bright shining light of the Leo sun. They also have a very high need for self-expression. And they do show up quite hyperactive very young because of this need for self-expression and this action and moving forward before anybody else ability that they have, being such leader energy. Now, where they need concentration and perseverance, they will find quite difficult. So it is very hard to get them to sit still if they find something boring. So it's a really hard task to have them sit and do something they find very boring. They are very good at distributing tasks when it comes to this boring ideal. So you might find if there are other siblings in the family with this Leo sun, that if you hand out a list of chores, they are very quick to pass off the other ones to the other siblings, particularly the ones that they find very boring. And again, because of this shining light of the sun that they have, the other children will be very easily led by these Leos. Now, they don't hide joy or resentment. And, if they come home from kindergarten and they haven't liked somebody, they will absolutely tell you everything that occurred. They can behave like everything and everyone owes them something. And that kind of behavior really needs to be checked when they are young because it can lead to some negative behaviors in teenage life and in adulthood. Now, when people admire the Leo sun, they are very touched. It does hit a particular nerve with them because of their need for praise. So, Leo sun can present quite lazy, particularly if they find themselves in a boring situation or an extreme situation, and one where they cannot make a decision straight away. We have to remember Leo energy is very fast moving. So if they do come across a decision that can't be made instantly, they can get a bit lazy about whether or not they actually want to make the decision or do the task. Now, when we are parenting these small Leo suns, we need to be aware of really pushing their mental faculties, really developing those. Because when we are dealing with a leader kind of energy, we have to be aware that they are going to move into that space if that's where they're most comfortable, which Leo Sun often is, depending on the other placements in the chart, of course. And we want them to be presenting as a good leader. And to be a good leader, we need to also have an intellect. So a very good idea is to really develop those mental faculties and abilities quite early on. It also teaches them that they do need to work for the reward of people seeing them as a leader. So we need to also be careful with these Leo suns that we are not accidentally encouraging bad features like bullying or arrogance or selfishness, because these sorts of things in a very prideful Leo sun can actually push them into a place where they become unable to compromise and respect other people's opinions, particularly when they hit adolescence. We need to make sure that they are very accustomed to physical activity. This is how they avoid stress. So you might see in your very small Leo sun, they are quite active, very hyperactive. This is how they deal with heightened emotions and stress levels. So it's really important to not forbid them to play and run until they drop. They really do need to do that if they are of high stress, because that is how they deal with that heightened level of emotions in their body. Now, they're likely to not want to comply with any sort of bed rest if they're sick, because they do get quite ashamed of being helpless, because again, they are that sun energy. So do a really good job of teaching them, things that are physical activity as well as endurance, as well as willpower, and teaching them about how that helps them clear their mind so they understand this need to be physical. Because as they grow up, if they do not understand this need to be physical, oftentimes we find that as we grow up, we become less and less physically active because we are not being pushed into sports by parents or school. And with a Leo sun, that can really lead into a place of very high stress that they repress because they do not want to be seen as helpless and needing of help, okay? So we need to also develop self-control in the correct way. Because of this need to not appear helpless, this is often the child who will very easily fall down or be pushed down, and they'll restrain themselves from showing any emotion, any helplessness. But at the same time, they are very quick to fire back, being that they are a fixed fire sign. And so they are also within their capacity to jump up very quickly and attack the person who has wronged them. So understanding self-control is very important for a Leo sun. And again, this is kind of one of those moments where you need to be teaching them that they feel these emotions and stress best when they are being physically active. Okay, now they do want action all of the time. They do want praise all of the time. So you need to be very careful how we praise a little Leo sun. And the reason for that is because this idea of thinking that everybody owes them and that they are owed something by the world, that leading to not having to work to get things done, can push into a very negative space when we are talking about praising them. An example of this is if they come and sing you a song, you do not want to be praising them for having a beautiful voice. You want to be praising them for the work that it took. So you want to be praising them for trying to sing well. You want to be praising them for remembering the lyrics and for being brave enough to put on the performance. We don't want to be praising them for things that they didn't really have to work for, because they come into this world with a lot of pride as it is, okay? So the other thing is we need to teach them caution, and we need to do that not by prohibiting them from doing things, but by persuasion. We are dealing with the leader energy, remember, that's sun energy, so they are going to think they know best. And the best way to deal with that sort of energy in a child is to, one, educate them on the way that they are using energy by needing their physical energy to work through stress. And by two, giving them suggestions or options that they can choose from, trying to guide them in the right way with persuasion rather than giving them rules. And we also need to be teaching them how to manage money, because the Leo sun can have quite extravagant tastes. And this idea that people owe them, it can really lead to them having these expectations of getting quite expensive gifts. And we need, again, to be making sure they understand how these gifts came about, how the money got made. And so it is a really good idea to start teaching them money management skills as soon as you think their brain is aware of how to do that, so that they do understand that with hard work comes these rewards, and that we are not just given them for existing. We also need to teach them that if they want to be respected as a leader, they have to earn that. Again, teaching them the earning part of getting these rewards, and that they can't just wait for somebody to bring them something on a silver platter. Now, this helps them learn that they have to give respect to gain it, but it also teaches them lessons about self-respect. Because, if you are somebody who thinks that the world owes you and are continuously praised for just existing, and you already have a heightened sense of pride, when it comes to self-respect, your self-respect kind of needs to come from an external place, because you have nothing to base your idea of self-respect on from an internal place. Whereas if you are taught that the journey, that the work that you put in, that the way that you move through the world offers you these rewards, the hard work pays off, then you have a place internally to connect your self-respect to. Now, this is especially important because of the level of pride and confidence that a Leo sun has when they come into this world. Now, they are not really willing to accept failure. So, in the same aspect as teaching the journey is important, we also need to really teach them that mistakes are okay, because this is the sort of child who will happily fall off their bike 5 times and instead of admitting they need help or admitting they can't do it. So we need to be teaching them that it is the learning, the work we put in, not the emphasis on winning. A Leo sun comes into this world with a huge emphasis on needing to win, on needing to be the leader, on being proud of just existing. And those are not ways that we need to be educating them as children. They already have that innate quality. We need to be teaching them the qualities that they do not have to balance them out. And with a Leo sun, these qualities are about learning that mistakes are part of the journey, and that they are actually a very important part of the journey. So teaching them what you can learn from a mistake, having a routine where if they do make a mistake, they have a pattern of thinking that they can go through, that they can sit down with that mistake and go, okay, that time when I was riding the bike, I put my hands in the wrong spot, I put my foot in the wrong spot, I leaned to the wrong side, and see the positive of going over that mistake instead of pushing it to the side because they are ashamed of it. So these things are very important when you are dealing with a Leo sun, and they aren't like other children. As you may have noticed if you've been watching along, birth charts are quite individual and very different. And we are just looking at one placement out of, a minimum of 12 that we can be looking at to see what is going on. So it is very important that we're not speaking to these Leo children the same way that we might speak to other children who do require praise for things like just existing as who they are. Leo comes with that knowledge when they enter the world. So we need to be teaching them how to have respect, how to gain leadership qualities and respect for that through the work they put in, through learning, through making mistakes and coming back from that. That is very important, because a Leo sun, and I'm sure if you know any as grown-ups, can very easily turn into someone who feels like they are owed, and who is not very good at expressing their emotions because they are too ashamed of feeling helpless. And I know nobody wants that for their children. So let's really pay attention to just these small nuances. And with a Leo child, it really is just about the words that we are using, because we do need to be praising them. They do enjoy that. We just need to be very careful of what we are praising them for, because it's very easy to overpraise them for something they already feel proud of, and to not praise them for the things that are most important. That's all I have got for you on the Leo sun today. They're a very active, small human, and they are a lot of fun. They're very, very loving. and very shiny, and they are quite good at cheering you up on a bad day. So let's do our part for them like they do for us, and really work with them to give them an all-rounded sense of pride and not a I am owed, okay? If you want to check out any of my other videos, I highly advise keeping track of the astro weather, which I upload for a weekly episode every Sunday, Monday, and that really is helpful for knowing what sort of energy your child will be when you wake up in the morning, or whether or not it's a good day to leave the house and do something difficult. So really, you can jump onto my other videos, my Astro Weather channel, which also goes through a lot of the high importance placements that change every few months as well, and keep track of that. It's much easier for your sanity as a parent and as an individual. I've also got some educational but entertaining videos up where I have looked at the birth charts of some celebrities, which you might find quite interesting. And they are very good examples of what we can see in a birth chart. So if you or anyone in your family or your children need a birth chart analysis, I highly advise it for everyone in your family. I can also work with those charts together. I can work with the parent and the child chart and talk about how you would best complement each other in educating and having fun together, which is also very helpful. So jump onto my website if you're interested in any of those sort of readings, and you can check them out there. And until next time, thank you for staying in here with me and learning about these children so we can best raise them in the most highest level that we can possibly manage. And until next time, stay weird.